Joining us live in the studio is the Press Secretary in the Office of the President, Dr. Alfredo Hengari, to answer a few questions on the resignations and also the allegations. A very good evening to you, Doc, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Firstly, can you confirm whether the allegations circulated in the media are accurate?
First, let me express my disappointment with the Facebook messages that you selected. Because they seem to be very biased. There are Namibians out there who support the decision of the president and specifically the two ministers who offered to resign as a result of what has been reported in the press. With regard to the accuracy that you're talking about, I'm not in a position to express an opinion as to whether what we have seen in the media is accurate or not. It's for the relevant agencies, crime-fighting agencies of the state, to determine. So I'm not in a position to say whether they're accurate or not.
Why did it take so long for the presidency to react in view of the fact that the ACC, like in our previous story, said has been investigating the case since 2014? Was there no idea of the presidency knowing that this was going on in the country?
Namibia is a country that is governed on the basis of rule of law. The president is one of the drafters of our constitution. In fact, he was the chairperson of the Constituent Assembly. So he believes strongly in due process. Just because an individual is being investigated, it does not necessarily mean that they are guilty of anything. I think the principle of innocent until proven guilty is an important one in our justice system. So we should allow the due process of the law to take their course.
But the fact that the two ministers resigned in light of these very strong accusations or allegations in the media, does this suggest? Does it suggest that they knew that they will not stand a chance in court even if they took it up? I mean, if they are just allegations, why resign?
In light of the reports that were in the newspapers today and last night specifically, the president requested to see the two ministers. And the president requested to see the two ministers in the presence of the vice president because the president believes strongly in teamwork and consultation. And the two ministers offered in the meeting to resign. They took the ethical decision to resign.
Why?
Not because,
what was the reason?
Not because they are guilty, because that's for the court to determine whether they're guilty. It's for the relevant institutions of the state to take a determination whether they will be charged or not. But they themselves took the ethical decision to resign in light of what was reported in the press. So I think as Namibians, we should welcome decisions of that nature because it's not necessarily a legal question. They took the ethical decision.
So in other words, these allegations do have are very strong and they do have some grounds. I mean, if it
I'm not in a
to
position to say whether they have ground or not, but all I'm saying is that the two ministers took the decision, ethically so, to resign, and the president, who is a champion of effective governance, as enshrined in the Harambee Prosperity Plan, a president who's championing greater transparency and accountability in government, accepted the resignation.
Did the president have the choice of firing the two individuals?
Well, I think it's not for me to determine that, but the president accepted the resignation of the two ministers on the basis of an assessment of what has been reported and also the commitment of the president to a transparent government and also clean governance.
And so what you're saying is that the resignations were voluntary, they were not coerced?
I think as Namibians we should welcome when two ministers who are implicated in such a scandal and it is reported widely in that manner and in the interest of protecting the integrity of the president and of the government, offer to resign. So I think it's a welcome move.
But isn't it worrying that this is an unprecedented move? This is the first time the two cabinet ministers are resigning because of this, such allegations, strong allegations as was mentioned before. Isn't this a bit worrying?
We should not see it as worrying. In fact, we should see it as the greater commitment of the president to fight any form of corruption, to promote an effective government. So we should welcome that the decision on the part of the two ministers. I don't think that we should be worried. In fact, on the contrary, what we saw today is our republic and its institutions being strengthened. The quality of governance today was on display and our institutions were strengthened. So as Namibians, we should be proud that today 2 ministers offered to resign voluntarily as a result, as a consequence of allegations that were in the newspapers. They offered to resign to allow for investigations without tarnishing or damaging the image of government.
It was reported in the previous story that we had earlier on that Bernhardt said that President Hengari has always maintained that corruption in Namibia is just a perception rather than a reality. What do you make of
Well, I think
that
the facts also speak for themselves. Namibia is consistently rated as one of the best governed countries in Africa. So that in itself should tell us that corruption in Namibia is not pervasive, is not endemic. Otherwise, the indexes will tell us a different story. So I don't know on what basis we would want to conclude without any evidence, without any data, that corruption in Namibia is pervasive.